we're just gonna, I just use, let me see if this is, I had this site I wanted to use. I'll just use Wikipedia. Oh, here we go, perfect. So, So, Queen, if you can get that situated. Can you see the screen now, Sun and Aries family? Josephus says, we came out of bondage when the sun was in Aries. We came out of bondage when the sun was in Aries. Everyone see the screen?
What do you want them? Which paragraph?
Scroll, that first paragraph right there.
Right here?
Can you read that?
When a person has his natal sun, when a person has his natal sun in Aries, it means that he belongs to the zodiac sign of Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac and has fiery Mars as its ruling planet. The period of Aries starts exactly at the time of the spring equinox, which usually happens on the 21st of March and lasts until the 20th of April.
So we have a reference. Josephus says we left bondage when the sun was in Aries. You can Google multiple sources. They say the sun worshipers now, we don't subscribe to this mess. The sun worshipers say the sun stays in Aries. It starts March the 20th, but he stays in Aries until April 20th. So it's like, could a bid be in April? Could a bid be in April? Well, let's go to the history of the Jews. And this is a PDF. And there's a bookmark there where that bookmark is. So the sun worshiper says the sun starts to be in Aries in March. Spring, which lines up when we started Bib. We started Bib in March. We celebrated Passover March the 21st, I believe it was, but we waited till the weekend, March 23rd. So, is it possible, because they say the sun stays in Aries from March 20th to April 20th, is it possible for us to have Passover in April? Well, we know after Passover, we start counting 7 weeks, and on the 50th day is the Feast of Shabbat, known as Pentecost. So, if the Feast of Weeks or Pentecost is 7 weeks after Passover, if you have your Passover in April, let's be fair. Let's say we're going to start Passover April 20th. Let's just say April 20th is Passover. If April 20th is Passover, we got to count 7 Shabbats according to the Most High. You count 7 Shabbats, and then that 50th day is the Feast of Weeks. So you can do it on your own. For the sake of time, I won't pull up a tab. Let's just say it's April 20th, and we're celebrating Shabbat. If you count 7 weeks after April 20th, that's going to put you into like June-ish, the July, for the Feast of Weeks. What did you say, June? That puts you about June-ish for the Feast of Weeks, right? Queen, can you read that reference? Is it highlighted in yellow?
You got 2, so I'm not sure which one.
This is the History of the Jews by Professor Gratz. This one right here. Can you read? This is the History of the Jews by Professor Gratz.
As in former ages, the heights were still crowned with fortresses. However, Judas succeeded in reducing several of them. He razed their walls to the ground. He disarmed their defenders, and he delivered his imprisoned courtmen. He then assembled the Judeans population, led them across the Jordan, through the friendly city of Bethshean, and shortly before the celebration of the Feast of Pentecost, May 164, he returned to Jerusalem.
That's all we need, Queen. Thank you. So this is during the Judah Maccabees, and he's talking about how he just had a victory. He says he was able to get them in line and together just in time for the Feast of Pentecost. The year was AD 164. When was they celebrating Pentecost?
May 164.
So again, if we do the math, there's really not kind of no way they could be celebrating Passover in April if in May they're having Pentecost. Again, take your time, do the research. Sister Anderson says if you celebrate Passover in April, that's going to put your Pentecost somewhere in June. Here's an ancient reference resource in the history of the Jews saying they were celebrating, getting ready to celebrate the Feast of Weeks in May of the year 164 AD. So we can't find Passover ever landed in April so far. But let's continue on with the research. The next point is I gotta get the mouse pad. We're trying to see if we can ever find Passover landed in April before they started this custom of intercalation. And this source I'm pulling up is another one free of charge. It's a PDF, and this one is a great source because it's by a Roman Catholic. It's by a Roman Catholic. And this is called Two Babylons. This is Two Babylons. Let me stop share for a minute. We're trying to see if Passover ever landed in April. Do you see Two Babylons on the screen? Mm-hmm. Is it on the screen?
Mm-hmm. The books.
So this is another valuable resource I recommend everyone gets. This is Two Babylons. This is Two Babylons. So I need you to get me the, let me know when I get a search box. All right, I get a search bar. Can you turn that keyboard on? I'm struggling without my right hand. All right, can you type? Is it on? Hit the backspace. We're about to read a source here in Two Babylons to show you that I'm about to get you connected in a second. All right, it says connected. Can you type in that box? See if you can delete that. Okay. Can you type in that box Easter? So this is a PDF free online. I recommend everyone download it. This is Two Babylons by a Roman Catholic, I think he was a priest, who did the research, and he's pretty much he threw Rome under the bus and said everything that the Roman Catholic Church is doing, we stole from Babylon. The priest staff came from Egypt. This man, Alexander Hislop, says everything Rome is that harlot church of Revelations, and everything Rome is doing, we stole from Babylon. And he is or was a Roman Catholic priest. So hopefully you can see on your screen. Did you get the Easter yet?
It only popped up in the
No, you just keep hitting next, and it'll go there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Hit it one more time. There we go. So, Queen, can you close these? Yeah, this is what we need. Can you close these and close the other side too? And you can magnify up top the pluses. So this is a chapter on the pagan customs that they stole from Babylon. And this is about, that's Easter, and keep hitting that. That's not Easter. I'm sorry. All right.
Here, the Roman,
Yeah.
the festivals of Romans.
Right. Scroll. Hit it again.
Maybe
Can you see it? Hit it one more time.
The next one more
Yeah.
time.
Okay, see Socrates, scroll down to get Socrates up there. So everyone knows Socrates is a well-respected Greek historian, and we're going to read what Socrates says about Easter. We're going to read what Socrates says about Easter. Can you read that for us?
The Socrates, what is that? Socrates, the ancients. The ancient ecclesio.
It don't matter. It's church. It's just referring to church.
Okay, historians, after a lengthened account of the different ways in which Easter was observed in different countries. In this time, the 5th century. The 5th century sums up in these words, thus much already laid down may seem a sufficient treatise to prove that the celebration of the feast of Easter began everywhere more of customs than by any commandment either of Christ or any apostle.
Easter is not in the Bible. He's saying Easter is not what the Jews are doing. He's saying this festival that the Romans are doing, Easter, is not what the Jews are doing. Read.
Everyone knows that the name Easter used in our translation of Acts 12:4 refers not to any Christian festival, but to the Jewish Passover. This is one of the few places in our versions where the translators show an undue bias.
So he's talking about his own people. Says when our translation based on the Latin is showing bias in Acts, because Acts 12 is not talking about our Easter. It's talking about the Jews' Passover. That's what this man is saying. He's telling on his own people. Read.
That festival agreed originally with the time of the Jewish Passover, when Christians was crucified, a period which in the days of
Tertullian,
at the end of the 2nd century, was believed to have been the 23rd of March.
When was Passover?
The 23rd of March?
Here's another resource saying that Passover of the Jews is not what the Romans or the Christians here are referring to Romans. The Romans are doing a Easter celebration. This man Alexander Hislop is saying Easter is not Passover of the Bible. He says originally they set their Easter celebration to fall when the Jews celebrated Passover. When was Jews celebrating Passover in the 1st century or 2nd century?
This one here, the 23rd of March?
23rd of March. We can't find Passover ever falling in April before intercalation. Let's go to our next verse. And for the sake of time, I won't pull it up on the screen because but this is the Arco volume. Again, you can get this in PDF form. It's a free PDF. These are the writings of Pilate, letters between Pilate and Caesar, what happened when they crucified our king. It got the Sanhedrin interviewing Mary and Joseph, asking Joseph, did you touch this woman? Did you violate this virgin? And Joseph is swearing on his life to the Sanhedrin priest, I didn't touch Mary. So this is an accurate count. These scrolls have been locked away in Vatican for years. Can you read, let's start here. And I'm sorry I can't get on the screen, but I'm doing a lot without my man Rasheen. I then ordered Yeshua.
I then ordered Yeshua to be scourged, hoping this might satisfy them. But it only increased their fury.
So this matches up with the New Testament. Pilate says, I told them just to whip him, hoping that would appease the Jews, but this only made them madder. Read.
I then called for a basin and washed my hands in the presence of the clamorous multitude.
This is in the New Testament. Pilate says, I wash my hands of this. Y'all are wicked. This is innocent blood. So this is lining up with the New Testament. Read.
Thus testifying that in my judgment, Yeshua of Nazareth had done nothing deserving of death, but in vain. It was his life these wretches thirsted for.
He's talking about the Israelites. He says, I couldn't do nothing to save Yeshua. These wretched Israelites want this man dead. This is Pilate's own words. Read.
Often in our civil commotions have witnessed the furious anger of the multitude.
So he's saying, we've seen before, when these Jews, these Israelites had their feast, they use it as an occasion to act a fool. So Pilate was like, I got to do what they want, because if I lose control of the people, Caesar's going to hear about it in Rome. I'm going to lose my head, because if these Jews take back their land, Caesar's going to kill me. So he says, that's why every time we had a Passover, they would ask for more soldiers to come watch the Israelites. Read.
But nothing could be compared to what I witnessed on this occasion. It might have been truly said that all the phantoms of the infernal regions had assembled at Jerusalem.
Everybody's here, because remember, we getting ready to celebrate Passover. So we had Israelites coming from all over, already in Judea. But they're already staying in hotels, ready to celebrate the feast. Read.
The crowd appeared not to walk. But to be borne off the world as a vortex.
They're moving like a sea. He said there was so many people witnessing this. It's like a sea of people. They're just moving like they on a conveyor belt. Read.
Rolling along in living waves from the portals of the I'm not sure what that is. Even unto the Mount Zion.
So the Praetorium is the Roman building. So he says you can see these people from the Praetorium where he was living all the way to Mount Zion. It's a sea of people coming to watch them kill our king. Now, to add to your notes, when we go back, we did that lesson on Passover. The crucifixion wasn't on Passover. there's a verse in John, it says, the Jews went not in because it was early. The reason why they didn't go into the judgment seat, they were trying to stay clean. Because if you was around a dead body, you had to stay unclean until the evening of the next day. So if they're there witnessing Yeshua be murdered and it's Passover, all of them are defiled in the Passover. That's another clue. We know it wasn't Passover. Because if it was Passover, why would they be worried about keeping themselves clean? They know they're going to be defiled because you're at a crucifixion. This is how we got to take our culture back and put the understanding back in our scrolls. Read.
With howling screams, screeches, and vocations, such as were never heard in the sedations of the Pannonia.
Everyone's screaming. The sisters are screaming. You got grown men like, this is our king. Like the Christian story is a lie. Many Israelites believe on our king, and this is bearing record that you can see Israelites from the Praetorium all the way Mount Zion, and you got grown men crying for the king. Like, don't do this. Read.
Or in the tumults of the forum. By degrees of the day darkened like the winter twilight, such as had been at the death of the great Julius Caesar.
Read that again.
By degrees the day darkened like a winter twilight, such as had been at the death of the great Julius Caesar.
This bears record. It was dark from the 6th hour to the 9th hour, it was dark. So in today's time, from 12 noon to 3 p.m., it was pitch black in the city. This Pilate is bearing record in his letter. Read.
It was likewise the Ides of March.
It was the Ides of March. It was the Ides of March. Queen, I need another tab. So let's see when the Ides of March are.
You in this one here?
Let me grab it back 1 second. We're going to see when the Ides of March. He said the Ides of March?
Of March.
It's the Ides of March when they're doing this, right? Again, we're trying to see if Passover ever fell in April. Is it on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
So Pilate in his record of what's happening says they crucified this innocent man, and it was the Ides of March. That's Roman. That's a Roman calendar. Can you make that big?
The Ides of March is saying Sunday, March 15th.
The other tab first. I'm sorry. So you probably can't make that bigger. Hope in the corner here. We're going to read when the Ides of March is. In this corner right here. Try to get it. Okay. Thank you. So let's read when the Ides of March. So scroll up once to the title. So kalends, noons, and Ides. We get the word calendar from the Roman word or the Latin word kalends. So it says the Romans did not count days in the month as a simple number as we do, but backwards from one of 3 fixed points in the month: the kalends, the noons, and the Ides. The kalends are always the first of the month. The noons fell on the 7th day of the long months, like March, May, Quintilis, October, and the fifth of the others. Note that this long-short distinction refers to their length in the Republican calendar, not the later version. Likewise, the Ides fell on the 15th if the month was long, 13th if the month was short. The day before the kalends, or noons or Ides, were called the preti, or sec or two. Kalends the day before that, third, etc. Therefore, May 3rd would be the 5th of noons of May. March 17th equals the 16th of Kalends of April, or as you would find or as you will find it abbreviated in a Latin text. So the Ides of March falls in March. They killed Yeshua in March in AD 32 or 33. Can you click that other tab, Queen, and let's see when the Ides of March ends for 2020?
Sunday, March 15th.
So we have accurate historical information that, one, they didn't kill our king on Passover. Because if they killed our king on Passover, everybody's there is unclean. How you celebrating Passover and you're unclean? And then B, we could never put Passover in April without them using Babylonian intercalation. And to wrap this up, the real dangers of adding a 13th month. The real dangers of adding a 13th month. Can you go back to that PDF?
The first one?
Can you click on the PDFs down and come up for you?
This one right here?
That little right there.
This one here?
No.
I'm sorry. Which one did you want?
Two Babylons. Can you type in the search box for me if you would, April? Here's the real danger of pushing Passover back to April. And this what allows me to say that those Talmudic or those Talmudist priests were being kind of shady. Kind of shady, because again, if you're really trying to honor the Most High and trying to come up with a way to keep his festival, why not just pray and fast and say, y'all help us. Y'all give us understanding. Y'all could have had an angel come tell y'all it's Passover. So do you got April up on the screen? Right there. So this is two Babylons, and go scroll up a little bit for me. Okay, I'm gonna start this. Scroll back down. All right. This is in fact.
Do you see it?
This is in fact right here. Can you? So this is what happens when you push Passover back to April. It says, this is Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop. This is in fact a part of the ancient worship of Baal, and the person of whom the lot fell was previously burnt as a sacrifice. Now, the passing through the fire represents that, and the payment of the forfeit redeems the victim. If Baal was thus worshipped in Britain, it would not be difficult to believe that his consort Astarte was also adored by our ancestors, these are the Romans, and that from Astarte, whose name in Nineveh, where we were, was Ishtar, the religious solemnities of April. If Baal was thus worshipped in Britain, it would not be difficult to believe that his consort Astarte was also adored by our ancestors, and that from Astarte, whose name in Nineveh was Ishtar, the religious solemnities of April, as now practiced, are called by her name of Easter that month among our pagan ancestors. This, you got a question?
No, so it's saying basically that some of our ancestors.
No, he's a Roman. He's a Roman. He's telling on his own people. This whole document, he's showing how he's a Roman Catholic priest, and he's saying, he did the research. Everything we're doing in Rome, we stole from Babylon or Egypt. So he's saying we're not doing nothing original. We're copying off Babylon. So our ancestors, the Talmudic priests, we were in Babylon. We were in Babylon for centuries. Daniel says, I was fasting and praying, and I remember the prophecy of Jeremiah. We were only supposed to be in Babylon for 70 years. Daniel prayed and says, Yah, what's going on? So that Babylonian Talmud is written by Israelites who were in Babylon. And now you're saying you're at the 13th month to honor the Most High, but your math is from Babylon. You can't borrow nothing from the pagans and honor our Father. So when you push Passover back to April, on the surface, I see you trying to do something good because we're in captivity, we don't know the times. But it's too close. You're following Ishtar. You're worshiping a Canaanite deity. So everybody who's in their 9th month, they're doing it out of ignorance. We're not bashing nobody's feast schedule. Just like the Christians doing things unaware, some of us Hebrews are doing things unaware. But this is why we no longer practice 13th months. We can't find 13th month in the scrolls. And now, thanks to this document, 2 Babylons, they're celebrating every month on their calendar, they're celebrating one of their deities. And for April, the Romans are celebrating Ishtar. They're not celebrating the Most High at all. The Romans don't do nothing for the Most High. Now, when some of the Romans became Christians, they tried to say, yeah, this is for y'all Messiah. But we got elders who saying, nah, they suckered us. And this man is telling on Rome himself, saying, everything we're doing is from pagan Rome or Babylon. So the last point I'm going to bring out, and for the sake of time and confusion, I won't pull it on the screen, but this is from the PDF, The Jews in Palestine, and it's a PDF. You can download it. It's free of charge. It's a small file. But this records what happened when a Jewish rabbi or an Israelite rabbi who was living in Babylon tried to go to Jerusalem, Palestine, and he tried to do things like they did in Babylon. So if you turn to the last page of your sheet, and I'm going to read that little paragraph with they disagreed over whether. And I do got one more precept. I didn't think I brought it. I got one more precept to bring out. This is why we can't follow a 13-month calendar. Shema. So this little clip is from the history of the Jews in Palestine, and it reads, they disagreed over whether they should celebrate Easter on the 6th of Nisan, the Christian Nisan, which is in April. We just verified the Romans celebrate in April, which then occurred on the 15th of Rajab, or on that Sunday after that, the 13th of Nisan, the 22nd of Rajab. Rajab is just the Muslim calendar. It says, the source of the division lay in the uncertainty regarding the date of the Jewish Passover, because Easter should fall on Sunday after Passover. Wait a minute, I thought Easter was Passover. Another reference that these people, they've been playing us out the whole time. I don't blame them. We fell, Mr. Curses. But Easter has nothing to do with our culture. Easter has nothing to do with Passover. So it says that Easter should fall the Sunday after Passover. And if this took place on Sunday, then Easter would fall an entire week later. This has nothing to do with us, family. So them pushing Passover back to April, they're celebrating Ishtar, and we know Ishtar is Easter. Has nothing to do with us. The last point there on your screen comes from the same reference, the history of Palestine, page 527. This is what I wanted to get to. Listen to what happened when this man tried to add Babylonian things in Jerusalem. It says, it appears that Hananiah's brother served as judge in Tiberias. And when he died, the people of Tiberias asked the yeshiva to send them someone to take his place. Someone was indeed sent. After after a group of Tiberian notables promised they would treat him well. But that person apparently tried to discard the authority of Jerusalem. So what's going on is this Babylonian Israelite has come to Jerusalem to lead the school. And because he's raised in Babylon, he's going to try to lead this school in Jerusalem with the Babylonian ways. Look what happened. It says, and even took the liberty of proclaiming leap years, whereupon the Gaon and the Yeshiva excommunicated him. So the Jews or the Israelites in Jerusalem saying, you're not bringing that Babylonian intercalation here. You got to go. You got to go. So again, it bears witness, our ancestors, the righteous ones who didn't get sent to Babylon, they know nothing about 13 months. They don't receive 13 months. And the last precept, and I'm sorry I got to do this to you, Queen, but we got to pull this up on Jasher because I didn't bring mine and I forgot about it. So this is the last precept. And this is going to be it on the months. We're not shunning people who practice 13 months. I believe in my heart they're doing it out of ignorance. I don't believe none of our ancestors are really trying to honor, Baal or anything. They're doing it out of ignorance. And we know, according to our Torah, we have sacrifices for sins of ignorance. So this is just for truth's sake. We don't attack or condescend to other people's way of life. It's just for us, when we know better, we do better. And we can no longer celebrate or honor 13 months. What precept is that? Oh, that's what I want. So this is the book of Jasher, chapter 9. Is it over there?
What is going on up there? I was reading something about the Druids and the... off topic, I know, but... That's going to come out in the Jesus class. Okay.
That's where Constantine is from. People don't know Constantine is not a Roman. Well, he's not directly a Roman. Rome took over Britain, but Constantine was born in Britain. And what you're seeing by the Druids, they were known as Druids, and they had their own gods. And the preview to Jesus, one of their gods' name was Jesus. So it's kind of ironic how Constantine is from Britain, y'all are Druids, one of your gods' name is Jesus, and then you name your Christ Jesus Christ. So yeah, we're gonna bring that out. So this is Jasher chapter 9 on your screen. And can you read down to the 8th verse if you would, Queen? This is Jasher chapter 9 verses 1 through 8.
And Haran,
Can you get the mic, please?
And Haran, the son of Terah, Abraham's oldest brother, took the wife in those days. Haran was 39 years old when he took her. And the wife of Haran conceived and bare a son, and he called his name Lot. As she conceived again and bare a daughter, and she called her name Micaiah. And she again conceived and bare a daughter, and she called her name Sarah. Haran was 42 years old when he begot Sarah, which was in the 10th year of the life of Abraham. And in those days Abraham and his mother and nurse went out from the cave, as the king and his subjects had forgotten the affairs of Abraham. And when Abraham came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instructions of the Most High and his ways.
So Abraham didn't want no parts of Babylon, Abraham says, I'm going to live with my granddaddy and my great-granddaddy, and Shem is our granddaddy. Read.
And no man knew where Abraham was, and Abraham served Noah and Shem, his sons, for a long time. And Abraham was in Noah's house 39 years, and Abraham knew the Most High from 3 years old. And he went in the ways of the Most High until the day of his death, as Noah and his son Shem had taught him. And all the sons of the earth in those days greatly transgressed against the Most High, and they rebelled against him, and they served other gods. And they forgot the Most High who had created them in the earth. And the habitats of the earth made unto themselves at that time. Every man his god, gods of wood and stone, which could neither speak, hear, nor deliver, and the sons of men served them, they became their gods. The king and all his servants, and Terah with all his household, were then the first of those that served gods of wood and stone.
Who is the king, y'all? This king is Nimrod. So Nimrod is the king. Terah is Abraham's father. Terah, Abraham's father, is Nimrod's right-hand man. They're all serving these pagan wood and stone, and their generation was the first ones to do it. Read.
And Terah had 12 gods of large size, made of wood and stone. After the 12th month of the year,
Read that again, Queen.
Made of wood and stone, after the 12th month of the year.
He had how many gods?
12 large size.
12 large gods after, and why did he have these 12 large gods?
For the 12 months of the year.
This is Babylon. This is the first civilization after the flood. Nimrod is the first king of the world after the flood. Our scriptures bears record. Here's Abraham's father, the king's right-hand man, serving 12 gods, and his 12 gods are for the 12 months of the year. If the first civilization where Abraham was born originally had 12 months, Babylon itself started off with 12 months. They didn't get into 13 months until generations later when sun worship became the norm. So the original way of the world was 12 months because they knew at the Tower of Babel, we were all one people. We all spoke the heavenly language, but then after Babel, Yah says, I'm taking my tongue back, I'm scattering y'all. So if the first civilization, Babel or Babylon, only knows about 12 months, where do you get 13 months from?
Hallelujah.
So this is why we no longer can honor 13 months. Those who do it, we don't shun them. We know they're doing it out of ignorance and no understanding. But the Torah Group can no longer honor 13 months. So that's it in a nutshell. This is Yaakov to the 12th power.